All right, and we're on. Welcome to week 3. If you guys are wondering, where's my backdrop, huh? There's nothing black there that makes me look like I don't have any hair because it all mends together, right? Yeah, where's that at? I can tell you, my house, I lost Wi-Fi. When you call up Comcast and the automated person tells you, oh, they're going to be able to fix it by 7:30 p.m. your time. A technician will not be able to help you. You're in trouble. So that's where you problem solve. You communicate with your other peers to help figure out the problem, and you come up with a solution. My solution was my husband's office. So hence why I don't have the backdrop in the background. And it's also good to communicate with you guys, because if something happens and I say I lose Wi-Fi here, we have Chef Suzanne here who has everything she needs to get her done also, right? So that's the beauty of restaurant industry. Communicate with each other and problem solve. My favorite problem solve was when I was cooking at the B&B and our ovens went down in the middle of breakfast. So I ended up, I like your face, chef. That is a great face. So I ended up cooking the entire breakfast on our grills, because I was like, I need to figure out how to do this. We don't have gas. We don't have ovens that work. What am I going to do? So I ended up cooking the whole thing on the grills outside. So it's just the beauty of this type of job, right? You get to problem solve. So first off, I'm going to share my screen real quick. So our assignments will be due on Tuesday, 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. And then next week's live session will go back to normal. So it'll be back on Thursday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So remember your assignment and then your live session. Those live sessions going to go back to normal. And to further discuss your guys' assignments from this past week, I'm going to have Chef Suzanne go over a couple of things with you guys, and then we will go into the awesomeness of menus.
Okay, so this week's assignment, I think some folks had a little bit of a tough time on it. It wasn't exactly the easiest assignment we've had, or you've had in probably any of your courses. I think this one was a little hard, or had the potential to be hard. Since it was more about kind of analyzing and kind of getting creative on what you were reading and what you were seeing. So you were given a couple of those menus that you had to pick, and then you kind of had to identify some potential target demographics. So you could the only information you really had was that menu that you could see. So you kind of would just kind of have to put yourself in the owner's position and think, okay, if this is my menu, who would I be trying to bring in? And then why would you say that? So if you looked at that menu and thought, okay, so I think this is going to bring in teenagers. What about that menu made you think teenagers? I believe teenagers would like this because it's grab and go, and it's got a really low price point that they would find appealing. And then on the flip side, you had to identify who they might not pursue. And that actually may have been even a little bit harder, trying to think of who wouldn't they want to bring into that business. And so you might say, senior citizens, because the menu is kind of worded a little weird, or it's kind of got some hipster looking phrases on it that may not suit, say, senior citizens. So I think it was one of the more difficult assignments that you've all probably come across. So I think in general, most folks did really well. But there's still time to resubmit. If you did have issues, make some adjustments, get it back in by Tuesday. Anybody have any questions about the assignment? Well, that's good. No questions.
All right. Well, that's great. Remember, you still have time to resubmit. The all of the time frames are still the same. It's still the same for me right now in my class. I still have my discussions due tomorrow. So at midnight, mine are due. So, everything kind of stays the same. And then, and now we will get into what we're talking about. Yay! The psychology of menus. Isn't that awesome? How many people actually knew that there was an entire team of people for years and years and years who've actually done scientific research on how to make people eat more food at your establishment? Did you guys know that?
Chef, I did know, not that there was a team, but I do know about the colors of, different things, what makes you hungrier, what makes you want to eat more, what makes you want to not buy because it's costly. I did know some of the color technology for menus and other type things like that, but I didn't know there was a research team that went behind the scenes who created that.
Oh yeah, that's great. And
the whole industry. It's a great big old industry. People looking to help these restaurants and help businesses take money from customers.
Exactly. I mean, that's the beauty of it, is that there's a good chunk of this work that has been done already for you guys. So now you just need to do the research and find it. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys so you can see how we go into the psychology of menu design. So like I said, there's been tons and tons of research done in this area. So it's just knowing, now that you know the type of concept that you have, this will help you understand which types of tricks and what type of things to do in order to get the customer through the door for you. This would be, are you going to use pictures? Are you not going to have any pictures? Are you going to use a whole dollar versus 99 cents versus 95 cents? That kind of stuff that you can go into. And I found actually this fantastic website that I actually really, really like. And he did a great job of putting it into place for you guys. And I put the link on the website. It's this one right here. Let me go back to it. And it goes over a lot of stuff. Amy, you talked about the color fusion. Like, he brings that up. He talks about, if you use orange, is known to stimulate the appetite, and green makes people think that it's going to be fresh, those kind of things. And then we have the golden triangle. We have decoy dishes. I was going to say, I kept on saying decor. I'm like, it's not a decor dish. Decoy dishes. And then subconscious, because, it's all about how you set up your menu. People, they only on average look at a menu for 109 seconds. And it's during that 109 seconds that you need to figure out the scan pattern of how they're actually going to read your menu. And this right here is a great way of how he breaks it down for you guys to see. It talks about feeding the imagination. You're going to put a nice description. You want your description to be clear. You want it to be concise. What are some type of descriptive words that you guys see on menus now that you guys are used to seeing?
Fresh, delicious.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Any good descriptive words? Nobody else?
Crispy.
Crispy.
Savory.
Savory.
Different descriptions, descriptions of Creole or island.
Yep. Yeah, those ones are great descriptions. And, you want to make certain that you have that in your menu, because you don't want it to be that you don't want your wait staff to have to describe every single dish on the menu. They are going to get upset because they have to spend all that time there. The customer is going to be upset that they have to spend all that time listening, because if you just put cheeseburger and you put nothing else on there, I'm going to want to know what type of condiments come with that thing, like what type of cheese you have on that. And if you don't put a clear description, that's going to put people off. And they actually did a study too, and Chef Suzanne, you may know this one or not, where it was like a clear description can actually increase your sales by 30%.
I have not heard that, but I believe it. Because you mentioned burgers. One that I think of that I see, and I bet other folks have seen it too. You go into a small restaurant, maybe like a mom and pop, and the menu just says fish basket. What kind of fish is it? Is it battered? Is it breaded? Is it fried? Is it baked? Does it have fries? Does it have coleslaw? What does it come with a drink? And those vague menus, if I see that, I love fish, but if I see that on a menu, I'm not going to probably even spend the time to worry about interrupting and asking my server or finding an employee to, your menu says so much about your business without ever saying a word, I always kind of think about it, if someone were to pick up your menu off of a park bench, would there be enough information to catch their attention and make them want to come and visit your business? If they're going to look it up and go, I don't know what's on that cheeseburger, what doesn't tell me what's on this salad, it doesn't tell me what comes with the fish basket, I'm probably just going to keep on going. And so that's why, menu descriptions are so important. You don't want to overload and have a million words just to use the words delicious. And, sometimes it's just the facts and can just put it over the top. And that's what people want to know. They want to know those things because we like to know those things, right? I want to know what kind of fish that is. I'll be very unhappy if it's not my kind of fish.
Right? Yeah, it's perfect. And remember, like your menu, do you guys remember the moments of truth? That is part of that moment of truth. That is that first interaction that your customer is going to have with your business. So you want to make certain that you develop your menu in a way that matches your concept, matches the food, and gets people into the door. And another great website that I found for you guys that was also in this link is this one right here. And I like it because I like the amount of the examples they have for menus. They go over the paneling. They have really, they show you some really, really great examples of different menus that you can look off of as a guide. And they talk about the reading patterns because, most people in the US, they start up at the top and then they scan down to the bottom, right? So you're going to want to put good stuff up top and then make sure it's good at the bottom, those kind of things. They have pictures, but the pictures are tastefully done. It's not just a picture to have a picture. It's a picture there for a reason. And they talk about paneling, menu, and they show the different paneling for the different styles of menus, that kind of thing. So this is just a great website for you guys to look at and to see, how what they did in order to catch your eye. And you need to think about that for your business. Did they put asterisks around stuff? Did they put a big box around it? And you go, oh, what's in the box? Those are kind of things that you need to think about when you're doing your menu design. See, nice little box around there. They have cute little, peaceful little designs.
Jeff, can I jump in real quick?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Canva is awesome. There's also another one called Must Have Menu, or Must Have Menus. I think it's musthavemenus.com. And if anybody's wondering what your menu might look like, so when you start designing your menus for your businesses one day, you can go to these sites and really play with them, and you don't have to buy anything. So, but if you find one that you really like and you're ready to open your business, then you can pay for it. But you can play with it all day long. Perfectly free to create yourself an account and go in and kind of play with exactly what Chef was just showing, all those images. You can change the fonts and what everything looks like. So they're super, super great. I actually think Must Have Menus is a little easier to use and has a little more images to it, but they're both awesome. Where you just go in and just kind of, you know, envision what your menu will look like one day, and it's super cool. You can see it.
Yeah, that's the fun part about it. This is the fun part of running a business. You get to pick out the menu and design it, make it look pretty, and however you want it to look. That's the fun aspect of it. So yeah, get on that website, check it out. Can we even throw a link up there, Chef?
I did. I've got it in the chat.
Okay, perfect. And then I can even throw it into the slide afterwards, and then that way you guys have it. So you have those ones, and then you have the must-have menu. That's perfect. So now that you have fun, figure out the type of menu, how you're going to get people into the door, you have to manage that food behind the menu that you just created. And it's all about the flow of food. This is the path that your food takes from you created your menu, you know your recipes, and now you need to purchase the food. You have to receive it, and you bring it all the way to the person going out the door to your customer. And ServSafe is a great, great thing for you guys. How many people have actually heard of ServSafe before? Do I see any?
I have.
Okay, I got one. Anybody else? I saw another couple of hands raised. Yeah, I highly recommend getting ServSafe certified, especially because you don't know, like for your laws and regulations in your area. In Colorado right now, at least one person in each establishment has to have their ServSafe manager certification. So it's a great thing to put on your resume. So I highly recommend it. And each one, they're always a little bit different. Massachusetts has a slightly different one. Illinois has a slightly different one. So you just have to know where you live and look up what the health department requires. But this is a great thing to use because it really breaks down each part of the flow of food. It factors in all the different steps and what you have to look out for to make certain that you are going to you're not going to get anybody sick. You're going to make sure that you prevent cross-contamination, and you're going to stop time temperature abuse, right? So example of time temperature abuse, you guys cooked a chicken and you cooked it at 1 p.m. and it came to temperature, and then you just left it alone until 7 p.m. So what's wrong with that? You just let it it's probably down to like 130, 120. That chicken's just been hanging out on your prep table.
It's bacterias.
Yes, bacterias. And then I think I just saw somebody with their hand raised. What was somebody? Did somebody have their hand raised?
James has his hand up.
James.
Hi guys. No, so sorry, I had my hand raised. Obviously, yeah, if you leave chicken sit out, like you have, a certain amount of time to cool it down properly. But I was looking at this cycle that you guys have, and we actually use that in the restaurant that I work at to not just do for safe food, but also to reduce food loss because you can lose food in each one of those categories that are on there, which is pretty cool.
Exactly. That's why it's such a great, and you brought up a great point, James, and it's such a great tool to use, and it's a great certification to get so that you do know each step and how to make it so that you aren't losing any money. You know how much labor is going into stuff. that you're not going to cross-contaminate, because what does cross-contaminate mean? Do you guys know? Cross-contamination?
It causes foodborne illnesses,
Yep.
like E. coli and salmonella.
Yep, part of it is that, yes, but it's also you put something. I have a beautiful burger, and I did something to it to contaminate it. So you have 3 types of contamination. You got your physical. So what's an example of a physical contaminant?
Cooked meat with raw meat.
Your hair.
Yeah, hair.
Band-Aid.
Band-Aid. I heard Band-Aid. That's a good one.
Having the cooked meat.
Dirty aprons.
Dirty aprons. And then glass, fingernail clippings, rat droppings, that kind of thing. Right? Now, then you have, we did physical, then we have biological. So what's a biological one?
Having the cooked meat next to, on the same shelf and holding dish as raw meat.
You're next to the raw meat, so what could that raw meat potentially have?
Salmonella, E. coli, any kind of disease-causing bacteria.
Exactly, because you have the big 6, right? You have your non-typhoidal salmonella, salmonella typhi, you have E. coli, you have Shigella, you have hepatitis A, norovirus, you have toxins, you got fungi, you have stuff you have to worry about. You want to make sure that.
Well, Chef, we have romaine outbreak this week.
Yes. Perfect. Thank you, Ronald. Yes, that's perfect. We have the romaine outbreak this week. That's why it's so important to make sure that you are doing all the steps necessary to manage that menu, to manage that food. And then the other one, we did physical, we did biological, and then we have chemical. What would be an example of chemical?
Bleach.
Bleach, yep. If you do too much bleach, I mean, some bleach is a good thing. Other bleach, you're going to end up hurting somebody.
Cleaning products around your food.
Yes, cleaning products around your food. Any other ones? How about pesticides, like rat poisoning? That one's not a pretty one, right? So those are things you have to think about to make certain that you are actually going to keep the food safe. One of the best things you can do is have everybody wash their hands, right? People go to the bathroom, they come back, they don't wash their hands. Somebody decides to take a phone call. This is like the dirtiest thing in the world. Can you even see all the little like smudges on my phone right there? This thing is gross. There's some people who take it to the bathroom with them. Play a game while they're doing their business. So you want to make sure you actually wash your hands. We wash our hands for 20 seconds, right? Happy birthday song. Everybody know that? If you sing the happy birthday song nice and slow, that actually is 20 seconds. So just think, or row, row, row your boat. That's another good one. So we are going to start with the purchasing, right? Now there's different forms of purchasing. You guys can buy, when you buy eggs, you can, at the store, you can get what? You get the little 12 pack of eggs. You can get an 18 pack, but you can also get, if you're working for a commercial kitchen, 15 dozen eggs in one box. The box is big. My son can fit in the box. I turned it into a robot costume for him once. That's a big, big thing of eggs. So it starts off as a pallet. So those are your master packs and cases and stuff. And it's all like a giant shipment and comes in. And then you have the master cases that are the larger cases containing a certain number of these inner packs. And then it goes, you have your inner packs, down to your base product. Your inner packs will have the type of SKU inside. It'll define like if it comes as a kit or not. And then you have your actual base product that you actually want. So I did this one where it starts off here and it just ends to that single basketball. And the size of your operation is really going to help you decide how much you're going to be able to purchase. If you have a big place with tons of room, then you are good to go, right? You can talk to a distributor, you can get them to come out and do a delivery. But if you guys are a food truck, if you're smaller, you may not be able to get enough food delivered that will actually fit in your storage. I had that problem at the B&B. My storage area was way too small. I couldn't actually get anybody to deliver because my amounts were too small. So how many people deal with deliveries right now? How much do you guys get? How many people have gone to Sam's Club or Costco or BJ's? And you notice the difference between and my favorite is my husband when we go to Costco, because he'll be like, oh my God, look at this deal. You can get all this great stuff. And I always have to say, you know what's a better deal, hun? Not buying it in the first place. Because he just wants to buy everything because it's super cool. You get a bunch of it and it's a great deal. But what if you don't need that much stuff from Costco? That's where you get it at Walmart, right? You get it at the grocery store, right? Yes, chef, you're right. I'm going to be doing Bob's Burgers all session. I just watched Bob's Burgers. It was great. Kept on going with it.
Right.
What, Ronald?
You're right, chef.
He finally got the cranberries.
I know, they were so fresh. So fresh. I love that show. But and so some of the bigger ones that you guys can do is like Cisco. And around me, I actually have Shamrock. And Shamrock is like as big as Cisco, and they'll actually deliver and do all that stuff. But the beauty with my Shamrock is I actually have a warehouse in town. So I can actually go there and look at the food and order it and talk to somebody or just grab stuff right there. If I want 50 pounds of flour, I can grab it right then and there. So it kind of depends on your area. You have to know what's around so you know where the food is. And I wanted to pull this up because if you're not a partner and you don't have, like you're not a client and you don't have access, it's really, really hard to be able to look at the different SKUs and how much you get for a case and for the pack and all that kind of stuff. For the bigger like Cisco and those ones. But for Shamrock, they have their deals of the week. So I pulled that up so you guys can see. Some stuff you're going to be able to get by the pound, and it gives you the price per pound. Other stuff, it tells you each and, that it's 20 ounces. And remember, these are bigger things. And then you got sweet potatoes for 40 pounds, and that's going to come in a case because you're getting a giant thing of sweet potatoes. These regular potatoes, it's 50-pound bag, that's still going to come in a bag. So it's just getting a feel and understanding of what you have around you so that you know where you can find your deals and who you are actually going to talk to for your purveyors to see what you can get, right? Does anybody have any questions thus far? Oh, and I just see that Chef Janet entered.
Hi, everybody.
We got a celebrity upon us.
Not really, but thanks. Not really, but thanks. Hello, everybody. I just wanted to drop by, say happy Thanksgiving. Hope you guys have an absolutely marvelous feast. And just to remind you, you are all blessings in my life. I am so fortunate to have each and every one of you here. And I want you to be safe because I want you back here next week to keep learning and just having a great time. And with that said, I'm sure Chef Rachel and Chef Suzanne have hammered this home. Assignments are still due by Tuesday, November 27th. But most importantly, have fun and thank you so much. Have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you, chefs.
Thanks.
Bye, Chef.
Bye. All right.
Hard not to smile after that. Look at all the smiles. Chef
Yeah, right?
brings smiles. She just dumps a little load of smiles and then leaves.
She pulled a George Costanza. If you guys ever watched Seinfeld, when he did that one where he, like, every time he said a joke and everybody was happy and laughing, he was like, all right, I'm out. And then he, like, just left. It's so great. If you have it, it's hilarious. You should watch it. So then, if you are figuring out your purveyors, where you're getting your food, if stuff is actually going to be delivered to you, you need to know some things, right? You need to know temperatures. Temperatures are important. If you get TCS food, and how many people know what TCS food stands for? Ronald, you jumped in. It looked like you're going to say, or James.
Time sensitive. Is that time sensitive food like?
You're close.
Temperature control sensitive.
Is it temperature control?
It's time and temperature control for safety.
No.
So
Just didn't really enough letters, which makes it a little confusing, right?
Yeah, right. They really should.
That.
Yeah, I know. They always do that to you, where it's that, like, time and temperature control for safety. So if you have hot TCS foods, that's going to come in at 135. If you have cold TCF foods, you want that coming in at 41 degrees or low, or lower. But how many people get live shellfish? How many people live by the ocean? I guess a couple of hands. You know, those suckers are alive. Those shouldn't be coming in. Those aren't going to be coming in at 41. You can receive them at the air temperature of 45 with an internal temperature no greater than 50 degrees. And then it has to go be cooled within 4 hours to that 41 degrees. Same thing with your, not the same thing, but your milk and your shelled eggs, you want that stuff to show up at 45 degrees and then brought down to that 41 within the 4 hours. So it's important to know this type of stuff. How many people have dealt with the key drop deliveries or have heard of that? Anybody? Anybody?
A lot of fast food chains do it. So some folks may have seen it if they've ever worked fast food.
Yeah.
That's where I've seen it, I think, the most.
Yeah, and it is when your delivery guy is going to show up at 5 a.m. and you are not there at 5 a.m. So how is he going to get the food in? You're going to give him a key, and he's going to be able to drop off that food. So that's that key drop deliveries. And then you want to make certain that you're buying stuff from the approved source. So while you may have great friends who are farmers and do all this like wonderful organic stuff, if they are not approved by the FDA or USDA, you should not be getting them any, like you should not be giving them your business, because you need to make certain that it is safe. What happens if you did say, oh yeah, Chef Suzanne, you're such a great farmer. I'm going to give you my business. I'm going to buy all your romaine. This is going to be great. And then that romaine is the romaine that Ronald was talking about that just came out with, was it E. coli that it had?
Salmonella,
Yeah.
I think.
Wait,
salmonella?
Was it E. coli or salmonella?
It's E. coli.
It was E. coli.
Yes.
Yeah. So then you're going to have an issue, right? Because you just gave a bunch of people food, like a foodborne illness. You just gave them food poisoning. So That is why you need to make certain you get it from a reputable source. And then you also have to remember your rights. Your rights, if you see something damaged, if something is leaking, if you notice your frozen stuff is like, you can tell that there's ice crystals, so that meant that it like thawed and then refroze again, you can just reject. Right? You don't have to accept everything. You can reject stuff. That's the same thing with cans. If you see cans that are rusty, anything's missing a label, if you notice a can is bulging, you're going to reject that bad boy. Because do you guys know what causes cans to bulge? Anybody?
Botulism?
Botulism! Yes! Botulism will cause those cans to bulge. So that's where you want to make certain that if you see anything you don't like, you just reject it. And that is why it's so important to know the different temperatures, all these different laws and regulations, because it's going to help you. If you see something dirty, you just reject it. You don't like it, you reject it. Now, then we get to storing. You got the food, everything is great. Now, where are you going to put it, right? Are you going to put all your food on the floor? No, because it has to be at least, you know, how many inches up it has to be?
6.
Yes, Ronald, you are on fire. Look at you.
He is, Ronald. Look at you, knowing your food safety and sanitation, rocking it.
Yeah, you're on fire. Yes, it's 6 inches off the ground. So you have to make sure that you're storing things properly. And you want to make sure that you're labeling stuff. You want to label the crap out of everything. I label like no other. Not only is it going to help you in the kitchen, but how many caterers do I have with me? Do I have people want to cater? The best thing that I do is if I have 3, let's say, hotel pans filled with chili, I am going to put chili, the date, when we need to use it by, all the temperature that it needs to go up to, all that good stuff, what catering event it's for, and then I'm going to put 1 of 3. And then I'm going to put on the next one 2 of 3, and then 3 of 3. That way, that person who is actually delivering the food, because it might not be you, it might not be any of the cooks who made it, it may just be the wait staff working that wedding or event, they know how much product they're actually supposed to have. And then this goes back to, I believe it was James, when he talked about, is it James? Was it James? I don't see James anymore. Where are you, James? Ah, there you are. When he talked about loss of product, you know, stopping yourself from losing product. If you go to an actual event and it's up in the mountains because they wanted to have the beautiful mountain backdrop and there is no stores in sight and you are 2 hours away from your kitchen and you left something behind, like you're not going to be able to make it 2 hours back down and then go another 2 hours back up the mountain. The event's already going to be over and you just wasted that product that you made. So those are things you have to think about, especially for labeling. Labeling is key. I'm a big fan of labeling. I'll even put some stuff where I really want to make sure that nobody touches it, where I was like, touch it and you will die. Like I'm like super crazy about my labeling. Because some people, they're like, oh yeah, that looks good. They won't notice if you just take one. And I'm like, no, I will notice because I need all of it. I need all of it for my catering. So, and then you did a great job of labeling. Then we're going to get into recalls, right? If there is a recall, such as the romaine lettuce, and then do you guys also know the other recall that just happened? Like a couple of weeks ago? I'm seeing Ashley shaking her head.
Turkeys.
Yes, turkey. What a horrible time to have a recall, am I right? So it's not like there's a shortage or anything.
There was just a beef not too long ago either. Very, very soon.
Yep,
Very recent.
also
We both
beef.
had beef and turkey. Crazy.
Yes. Yeah. And how many people love eating cookie dough? Cookie dough? People just love eating it? Yeah, me, not so much. You know why? Because it's the flour. It's not the eggs. People always think it's the eggs. It's the flour that's going to get you. You need to cook that flour. There was a recall 2 years ago on flour, and I'm trying to remember which one it had, but I don't remember. So that's where you have to be careful, and you have to be on top of it. You got to make certain that you actually label. You have to say, do not use, do not discard. You cannot just throw it out. You have to save it so that way they can actually test it and make certain that to determine if that product that you have actually has the foodborne illness, like it has the pathogens or the virus or whatever. And then you can always go to your trusty CDC to tell you all of the great stuff. See, oh, it's E. coli. Haha, there we go. There we go, Ronald. And the CDC will always be able to tell you what's happening, when the recall, how many states have been affected, how many people have been hospitalized, the cases, all this good information. And you need to make certain that you're up to date with it because you don't want to get anybody sick. And while this may not be your fault because you had no control over E. coli entering the romaine, it is your responsibility to make certain that you stay up to date on this type of stuff. So the CDC is really a great tool to use for this. And then we talk about variants. How many people know about variants and HACCP? I know Chef Suzanne does. HACCP plan. How many people like smoking their food?
Yeah. I'm in Texas. It's like, I think it's a law.
It's a law. Yeah, you have to have a variance if you want to do the packaging for reduced oxygen packaging. If you have a sous vide machine, you're going to need to have a variance because you're not, like if you are smoking to preserve, you're not cooking it and you're not cooking it to the right temperature. So that's why it's so important that you have these like variants that the health department will approve or not approve and make certain that you have a HACCP plan because they want to make certain that you are covering every single control point that you can. So variants, HACCPs, these are very important, especially if you're, you always see the shellfish and the lobster and the crabs crawling around in the display tank and you can be like, I want that one, that's going to need a HACCP plan because that sucker is still moving around. He's still alive. Those are things you have to think about.
I have a quick variance story, Chef, which is how I learned about variances, but it has nothing to do with food, but it's how I remember. So hopefully somebody will remember. I think variance it just doesn't seem like a very easy to kind of wrap your head around. What a variance is it's doing something that's not typical, not normal, is kind of unusual. I built a shed. Oh, well, I didn't build anything. My husband and my father built a shed in the backyard, and we had to turn in paperwork to the city on how big the shed would be. And so we told the city that it was going to be 17 foot tall because everyone needs a 2.5 story tall shed in the backyard. And they approved it and then realized that it was too high. So the only way that we were allowed to keep it, because they're going to make us tear it down, which would have sucked so badly. So what they had to do was give us a variance and basically say, you're allowed to have this shed in your backyard that is not like any other shed in town. And so it's kind of the same idea. If you're doing something, if you're just sauteing and baking, everybody does that. But if you're doing something really unusual that's not real common, they want to make sure, the health department wants to make sure you're doing it right. So that's what the variances are for.
Yeah, that's perfect. And then you also have to make certain, yes, Ashley?
Would that be like deep frying a turkey?
Deep frying a turkey? No, because you are still cooking it to actual temperature, which is fantastic. Ashley, because I can show you my delightful slide on cooking to perfection right here. And it has all the different stuff because you have to bring it to a minimal temperature and you have to hold it. And you have to hold it for a certain amount of time. So this is another great little example for you guys of how long you have to, you know, if you're cooking chicken, it has to be to 165 and it has to stay there for 15 seconds. Those are kind of things you have to think about because you don't want stuff to go into the danger zone. Any Kenny Loggins fans or Archer fans? Danger zone. Anybody? Nobody? No. That's my ringtone. It was just Lana, danger zone, just for my husband. That's the one for my husband. So, and then, because, you know, your danger zone is between 41 and 135. And then you have your food grows rapidly between 70, or sorry, not food grows rapidly, the pathogens, those bacteria that can grow rapidly between 70 and 125. So that's why it's important that you cook stuff to the proper temperature. So this is a great little just guide for you guys to understand the cooking to perfection. And then we need to talk about consumer advisory. Consumer advisories are important. If you aren't going to cook that burger well done and you're going to have it be rare, if you're going to feed people sushi, those kind of things, you have to tell people that they may get sick if they're eating raw or undercooked foods, right? And a great way to figure out where that is I just pulled up mine for, this one's for Colorado, and each state will have their own ones that they want you to talk about. And this is the Colorado one. And then I pulled up another one for like Arizona. And if you go all the way down, they just say consumer advisory. You need to provide that statement. Now you can have your wait staff tell them, you can have it on the little tabletops, you can put it on your menu, but no matter what, you can even have a giant sign in your establishment. But the information has to get out there that there is a risk. And my greatest example is sushi, because most sushi is raw, right? And then you get to serve your creations. Yay! What this lady is doing is so wrong. You shouldn't put a plate on your head for food. That's not good. That's going to get a physical contaminant, right? All that hair up in there. I don't think so. So remember, you have to make certain that you are holding the food at the correct temperatures. It has to be 135 or higher for hot TCS foods. It has to be 41 or lower for cold TCS foods. And you want to make certain that you are preventing contamination. So that means if I'm your waitress and I am bringing the actual, you know, here, let me, now my finger's all wet, so I can't stop sharing. If I'm bringing, like, here's your beautiful glass, and I'm like holding it like this, you're going to get grossed out, right? Because the waitress just stuck all her fingers up in there. And how many times have you seen this where you're like, oh my God, they're touching stuff? So you want to make certain that they're actually holding stuff the correct way, that it's plated the correct way. You're using gloves, right? You're using gloves because as soon as that food is done cooking and it goes straight to that person, I don't want your fingers, your oily fingers that just touched your cell phone touching my food. I want you gloving it. And then you got to make sure you're not reusing bread or condiments that come in those tiny, cute little like bowls, the little ramekins, those kind of things. Can't reuse that type of stuff. So those are things you got to, make sure you think about when you're doing your actual having your waitstaff serve food. And to go to serving your food, you have two different options here. Which one would you order? I have a turkey club, and these are your two options. Which one would you guys pick?
One on the left.
One on the left. Anybody else?
I really like both of them.
I'll get both of them.
Both of them.
So one that's not overflowing off the plate.
I want Oh, that one too.
So this comes back to that menu psychology, right? Because I would choose the one on the left. Do you know why I would choose the one on the left?
It's more appealing to your eyes, but it just depends on where you're getting it from.
It's more appealing to your eyes, and it's a true club sandwich. A club sandwich is a club sandwich because of that third piece of bread. So if I got that one right there, it's not the bacon. Everybody always thinks it's the bacon. So I always get annoyed at those sub shops that have that giant thing and there's like, here's the club and it has bacon. I'm like, that's not a club. Where's my third piece of bread? So if I got this one right here without that third piece of bread, I would be mad because I expected a club. So that's why you need to make certain that your concept and what you put on your menu and your description is going to match what you actually provide. Here is another example.
So the club means it has to have a third piece of bread?
Exactly. It has to have a third piece of bread. Doesn't have to have that bacon, but it has to have that third piece of bread. Right? Yeah. How many people know that pizza is technically an open-faced sandwich? Right? I love that one too. Now, which one would you pay $1.99 for and which one would you pay $15 for?
The one on the right, $1.99, $15 for that big old juice and right down the left.
Right? Because this is the perception. You want to show that value. So this is the $1.99, that's a value, and it looks like a value, that's what you're getting. But this one right here, this is that experience. If you're going to pay $15, I'm going to want that garnishment. I'm going to want that pickle. I want all that type of stuff. So these are also things that you need to make certain when you're actually serving the food, that you're serving it to look like your concept and what you are expecting when you look at your menu. If you're going to have, like the menu on the side, like on your, the drive-through going up the side, I'm going to expect this style of burger versus this style of burger, right? I'm going to expect this one at a nicer establishment. So, do you guys remember it was quiz time? Did you see that before? Do you guys like my memes? I absolutely love making them. I have like so much fun making those for you guys. But remember, your assignment will be due on Tuesday and your live session will go back to normal. And Chef Suzanne will take it away and talk about the assignment once I stop sharing.
Probably should unmute myself because I was just getting ready to talk and talk. All right, so let me share my screen. And if I'm looking off to the side, I'm deep in thought. Now, really, my screen is over here, so I've got too many screens. All right, so, oh, look at us. There we are. So cute. Okay, can everybody see this page? All right, I want to show you right here for this week's assignment. There is a great video right here that Chef Luke has made about, I totally blanked, egg drop soup. And so the assignment looks like, oh, good. Thought I had all these open. Apparently I did not. I don't know. It won't open. Oh, there it is. Can everybody see that? Okay, so this is this week's assignment, which looks really scary and really daunting, but I promise that it's not. All right, so basically what you're doing is you're given a dish, and in this case, it's tomato sauce. And then you're basically going to follow that dish through the flow of food, kind of like Chef just spent this whole class talking about all these different parts. All right, so I'm going to jump back, I think. Yes, to right, I lost it. Right here, where there is a great video that Chef Luke has made that shows you how to fill it out. He did the exact same assignment, but he did it for egg drop soup. All right, and so I'm going to show you, I did it, and I kind of based it on if I was working in a small business and I maybe had to go to Sam's Club. I mean, Sam's is probably not the preferred place that most of us are going to want to go, right? Because hopefully you're going to want, your business is big enough that you're going to need a really large vendor like US Food or what's that called? Shamrock. Like Chef was just showing us, that's a great option. That's a great website too. So what I did was I went to samsclub.com, and I typed in the different items. They're bringing a washer and dryer on sale this weekend, so good news. All right, so back over here to the assignment. What I did was my recipe that I did was for roast turkey with a compound butter. And so then I had to figure out what I would purchase from Sam's to make one recipe of that roast turkey with compound butter. So everything highlighted in yellow is basically what I did for this assignment. So I would go and I would call, right? Because you can order things in advance at Sam's. You can call and they will get it ready for you. You just have to pick it up. All right, so if I walked in, this is what they would have for me. They would have a 20-pound turkey, a 4-pound case of butter, a 6-ounce container of dried rosemary, and then 2 48-ounce bottles of lemon juice, because that's the only way I can buy it. I can't just go to Sam's and say, I need a tablespoon of lemon juice, please. Right? They're not going to be able to sell that to me, but they can sell me 2 48-ounce bottles, right? And then I'll just have extra for other things. All right, so that was me purchasing my turkey supplies. All right, now when I get to Sam's, they're going to have it in a little cart for me, a little buggy. And I'm going to have to make sure that it's all right. So what am I going to be looking for? Well, so I'm going to look at that turkey. I want to make sure there's no hole in that package. I want to make sure that it's 41 or below. I want to make sure it's not expired. My butter, I'm going to make sure it's not damaged, it's not expired. So you're going to look at all your products, just like you would do whether you get it from US Foods or Shamrock or Sam's. You're going to look for those things. We do that at the grocery store too. Nobody's going to pick up that out-of-date milk. Probably not even gonna pick up that milk if it expires tomorrow, right? You're just gonna leave it on the shelf. Don't buy that milk. All right, so that was what I was looking for when I picked it up. So let's say they did a great job at Sam's. I'm gonna load it in my car and I'm gonna take it to my business. All right, now I need to store it. What am I gonna do with it? Well, I'm gonna put the turkey in the cooler on the bottom shelf. I'm gonna remember first in, first out. Well, that says Fifi. That should say FIFO down there. But if I've already got a turkey, I'm gonna move that one to the front, right? And then I'm gonna put my new turkey behind it. My butter, I'm gonna put in that cooler, make sure it's labeled. These are the things that you're gonna wanna make sure that you're storing everything properly. All right, so now, this one I think is probably the easiest of this, but it looks the scariest. We're preparing. We're working on our mise en place, which you all know a lot about already, so this one's super easy. So what am I gonna do? Well, I need a turkey, so I'm gonna make sure that I have a thawed turkey on hand, which is what my recipe says. Per the recipe, up here at the top, I need a turkey. So I want to make sure I have a turkey. I want to make sure I have a pound of butter, 2 tablespoons of rosemary, and some lemon juice. All right, next step, Chef talked about, we're going to hold it. All right, so I'm going to serve my turkey hot. So what am I going to do? I'm going to carve the turkey, and I'm going to put it in a steam well at the correct temperature according to the regulations of my area. But let's say I still have some left over. I'm going to chill it by putting it in smaller containers and then cool it, cover, label it, and stick it in the fridge. Now my compound butter, I'm going to keep that cold the whole time. All right, so that's just my flavored butter, my butter with my rosemary and my lemon juice. That's going to be cold. It's going to be made cold, stored cold, used cold, keep it cold. Then the last thing is how am I going to serve my turkey? I'm going to put 6 ounces on a plate. I'm going to garnish it with a 2-ounce slice of my very cold compound butter. And then I'm going to serve it with whatever my customers requested for their sides, along with any garnish I may have. All right, so in a nutshell, this assignment looks, I think, way scarier than it really is. You're basically tracking the ingredients that you're given, and in your case, you're given, I think I've closed it already, the tomato sauce, right? Tomato sauce. And you're going to do the exact same thing. You're going to tell us how you purchase it. You're going to tell us what it should look like when it's received, because if my turkey comes in and there's a hole in the package, or if I go to Sam's and there's a hole in my package of turkey, what am I going to do? Take that turkey back. I don't want this turkey. Give me another turkey, right? You're going to reject it. Right, so then when it comes to storing, I'm going to make sure that it's now mine, right? Sam's does not own this stuff anymore. It's mine. So I'm going to take super, super, super good care of it. And take the best care ever. I'm going to make sure it's stored properly so that it's safe for my customers and it lasts as long as possible so I don't waste any product. All right, then again, you all understand the mise en place, so that one shouldn't be too hard. How are you going to keep it hot and or cold, depending on the dish, and then how you're going to serve it. Does that make sense? Questions, thoughts, concerns? I'm going to turn off my little stop share thingy here.
We have two hands raised. Was it Amy and
I see Janine said that Chef Luke, he does this exact same thing, but he does step by step. But again, like I said, his doesn't so much go into detail. Like he talks about knowing that eggs come in. Well, now you know from Chef that eggs come in, say, 15 dozen. So this is a little different kind of a view using Sam's. So it's, yeah, there's a phone app. So awesome.
And you guys can go ahead and ask your questions.
Oh, I have one question. Yes. First portion, do we need prices on the items? Like you went to Sam's and you have.
No, the assignment does not ask for prices. It's just asking you, and there's an example right on the sheet, but it's just asking you for the product amount, the case size or product amount.
So it's just going to, say, Sam's or Restaurant Depot, and then
Restaurant Depot is great too, yes. And you would do that exact same thing. So you would just say the size of the container. So, you know, if you had to pick up onions and you go to Restaurant Depot or you go to Sam's, probably going to get a 25-pound bag of yellow onions, then you would just put 25-pound bag of yellow onions from Restaurant Depot.
Okay.
No price needed.
All right. Sounds great. And, well, sorry, another question. And this is any recipe that we want to work with?
No, there's a template for tomato sauce.
Oh,
there's another. Was there another one also that I saw?
No, that one's for a pastry.
Okay, so it was just
a different menu for a different recipe for pastry. It's a template right there on your assignment page for week 3, and it'll just like the page I showed you, but it'll say, I think it's tomato sauce.
Tomato sauce, yes.
Yeah.
The template was okay because you had turkey and Chef Luke had the egg drop. So
exactly. So you were able to see a couple different ways to do it. So hopefully everybody's like, get this.
Okay.
And Monica, what was your question?
I had two actually. My first question is, I noticed in the ingredients it had sugar, but the rest of it didn't have sugar on there. So I went ahead and added sugar on the rest of the examples because it wasn't on the rest of it. That was
not notice that.
Well, yeah. It's good to know. Thank you, because then we can change that too. So that's perfect. And what was your other one?
My second question is, I noticed Chef Luke, he put on there as some of the purveyors, you could use produce as some of the local areas. And I assume maybe since bacon, if you had a local butcher shop, were you able to use that as a purveyor to order from?
Yes. And in the assignment, you would put what you're getting and where you're getting it from. So like I use Sam's, but in his example, he used U.S. Foods. He used local produce vendor, but you could do the same thing. So you would just put, beef, 20 pounds ground beef from, local butcher shop. Exactly.
Okay, I did that. So I was just checking to make sure that was okay.
Good.
All right, perfect. Okay, Amy, what was your question?
Yeah, I didn't look at the assignment. I kind of glanced over it. Can we use like a homemade or our homemade tomato sauce? I am Italian. I like to make homemade tomato sauce. Can we use our ingredients that we already know how to make, or do we just follow what's in the ingredients on the page?
You're going to use the template that's already got it chosen for you. It's got the dish and it's got the ingredients that you're going to research. Consider it more like a research paper. And they've already given you the recipe that you're going to do the research about.
All right, I was just questioning that.
All right. Does anybody else have any other questions? Comments? Concerns? Well, I hope everybody has a phenomenal Thanksgiving. James, Ronald, you rocked it with the serve safe. Do a fist bump. So, Ashley, do you have a question real quick?
How long does it take for us to get our grades on our redone of assignments, like we redo the assignments?
It's 3 days, correct?
Yeah, it's normally 3 days to get regraded, 72 hours.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, I hope everybody has a fabulous Thanksgiving. enjoy yourselves, and just remember, you still have your assignment due, and do your knowledge checks, do all that fun stuff, and have a great and safe Thanksgiving. And have a great night, guys.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Good night.
Happy
Thanksgiving, everybody.